Hey guys, Gavin here, and I just wanted to give you a bit of an update on what's going on in Oregon, talk about what we're dealing with and how you guys can help this week. I actually did talk to Ammon Bundy today, and he is in really good spirits. He sounded really good. You know, I mean, he's in a very tough situation. He's struggling, but his mental spirits seemed good, and he knows that these courts are corrupt and that they're lawless, but at the same time, there's a higher king, and we do the best we can. We stand up for what's right. We love our neighbor, and we stand up. And I want to talk about standing up. I want to talk about how people can stand up with the trials coming up in Oregon. And one of the things people need to do is we need to show up. And I'm going to talk to, patriots, conservatives, 3%, militias. I'm going to talk to some of you guys specifically. What can you do? Look, the trial starts, essentially jury selection starts Wednesday in terms of actual jury pool in the courtroom. Then you have probably a week of setup before the trial actually starts, and then the trial could go for months, but effectively it all starts on Wednesday. Now here's the thing, guys. People need to show up. It's not that we can fix a lawless court. The courts are gone. The law is gone. This system, we have to oppose it. But we can be supportive. We can show up. People can make sure there's people in the courtroom. You can get out there and you can wave your flags and you can educate people. You can shout and you can sing. There's actually some different events being organized. John Lamb is actually doing the March Around the Walls of Jericho. He's going to be down there for about a week. Kelly Stewart's going to be down there on the ground as well. Of course, Deb Jordan and many others are going to be out there reporting along with them. But I think this idea of the March Around Jericho is really phenomenal, because if you've been to that jail, it's kind of like these square, tall walls, and we have an evil and corrupt system that's overthrown the law in this country, and we're going to need more than just us to stop that system. We need God to tear down those walls, but we need to stand up. We need to be vocal. We need to show up. And let me speak to that too. Let's talk about tactics a little bit. Let me talk a little bit to the 3% and the militia groups. Sometimes guys don't like me because I'm really honest. But listen, there's a real problem here, because you look around Oregon and stuff like that, and most of the 3% and the militia groups, they're no-shows down there in Oregon. There's people showing up, some of the women in particular showing up down there. They're trying to be supportive. They're trying to help people. Where's the 3% and the militia? Here's what I want to address. There's this idea among 3% and militia of, well, when it goes down, right? When they come for us, they'll take it out of our cold, dead hands. Listen, 3%, militia, we're all the militia. It doesn't mean you wait until you got to go to the front lines and we have a bloody revolution. We're trying to avoid that. The militias and 3%, they need to be showing up. Think of the power of 1,000 people on the ground from your militias. Even if you have a militia and maybe you can't send all your guys, right? Why aren't the militias and 3% groups getting together and sending delegations? Why don't you say, hey, let's have 5 guys on the ground in full dress, right? Not battle rattle, but you get down there in full dress and you march back and forth carrying a flag or a rifle or something like that across the park all day long. Imagine a little group of militiamen maybe rotating in and out, or 3%, going down there. Especially if they were veterans, right? And they had their full dress uniforms on, and they just did the march back and forth. Think about the conversations that would start, okay? Now this isn't just about militias or anything. Don't think any of us are off the hook. We need to all look for ways we can stand. So if you can get down there to Oregon, do it. If you're across the country, see about sending money and supporting those that can. And it's not just Oregon going down right now. You have Nevada coming up. Those guys aren't getting a lot of support. Look, people on the ground, how are they giving us tyranny? How are they selling tyranny to America? Their voice is loud. They're marketing the tyranny. They got a lot of people promoting the tyranny. We need our voice to be loud. And so we don't need excuses. We need to find a way to increase our voice. Sure, we use Facebook. We use videos like I'm doing right now. But I've learned this over and over again. At the end of the day, you gotta show up. You gotta show up. You gotta be on the ground. That's why I'm on the ground on things all the time, because we need to be on the ground. That's where the conversations are. That's where we rally people. That's where the message gets out. So get down to Oregon. whether you're joining up with one of these official events or you just are showing up there, right? But put boots on the ground and be spiffy. You know, be representing. Remember Martin Luther King when they marched across the bridge, and when he would show up, he would wear a tuxedo, right? Now, I'm not saying you got to wear a tux, but let's talk about tactics for a minute. Guys, it's not an accident that I show up places wearing a suit. I realize it's not about who's the best dressed, but listen, what's the government doing? They're saying, look at us. We've got our robes and our suits and our ties, and we're so polite and we're so orderly. We need to control the message. So we've just talked about a couple things, right? Some people doing marching down there. That could be a powerful message. Then when you take an action, here's another tip for you guys. I see this all the time. People have rallies and they go down there and they do a couple of random video clips, you know, of people marching or walking, or they have a quick clip they post, look, we're at a rally, right? And they post a clip of somebody talking that you can't even hear. Listen, own your narrative, America. Patriots, love your neighbor, own your narrative. Now think about this. There's a reason that I always turn the camera around on myself, right? Some people say, oh, Gavin, he just loves to hear his own voice. But listen, no, there's a tactic here. You don't just make a video of people aimlessly walking around. You're showing intent. You're taking that conversation and you're showing it to the world. You know, you look down with the Lakota down in North Dakota. And here's the thing too, we're seeing this too. We're seeing people with agendas get involved in these different movements, right? So you have conservative Republican agenda, and then you have Lakota, and then the liberal environmentalists get in there, and everybody's pointing the finger at each other. Listen, you guys, we're one people, okay? It's not about faction. So I don't care which event, which situation you're in. Anytime somebody's trying to introduce faction and division, anytime they're trying to make this about, oh, this is about liberals, this is about conservatives. No, this is about liberty. Get control of the message. And when you pick up that camera, when you're at an event, you know, short, simple messages. If you're going to take a camera, guys, and I see this in Oregon a lot, if you're going to point a camera around and you say, hey, look, there's people down here rallying, hoorah, right? You say that. You say, look what's happening, right? You get out of the courthouse, and instead of waiting till later to post a rant, you grab your camera, you point it at yourself, and you say, listen, guys, I just got out of the courthouse, and I am appalled by what just happened in that kangaroo court. Make your narrative. Look what happened at the weekend down over with the natives down in North Dakota, right? Dogs attacking them. Dogs being released on these people by private mercenaries attacking innocent people, including women and children, right? That's a narrative, folks. Now, it doesn't mean we look for that. We don't want there to be violence or hurting or anything like that. But when they abuse us, when they do things, maybe it's a shenanigans in the courtroom over emotion, and maybe it's thug-like behavior from law enforcement or private security or whatever. Own that narrative. Tell the story. Let your emotions and your feelings come across. Control yourself. Control your language. Just like when you show up and you dress snappy so that you can help own that conversation, so that you can help people understand what the real message is and keep it pure and clean and righteous and in liberty. So look, our appeal is to heaven. God needs to intervene. So yes, you need to be praying about Oregon. You need to be speaking out. You need to be helping the people, the families, donating, things like that. You need to get down there. Look, I say this a lot. Jesus isn't Santa Claus, folks. We need to pray, but with that prayer, we need to take action. Faith is not simply hoping everything will get better and doing nothing. Faith involves action. It involves taking a stand. So whatever your beliefs are, wherever you come down on that, start standing. Start showing up. To our militias, our 3% groups. Look, the battle is not at your 3% barbecue that you have every month or at the gun range. The battle is out here on the ground, and you shouldn't be waiting till it gets really bad. You should be out here now. You should be showing up. We need justice for Lavoie. We need justice for the Bundys. We need justice for the natives. We need justice again. That's how we make America great. We need liberty. We need to stand up. Yeah, we need that appeal to heaven. Listen, these courts, and this is what I was encouraged talking to Ammon today. He understands this. Look, we're trying to get through the courts, but there's a higher judge. Folks, there's a king. There's a king, and he's above them. Put yourself on the side of principle. Take the high road, but also use wisdom. Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Now, at some point, I plan to come down there to Portland during the trial soon and visit there and just kind of help keep the voice going. But look, everybody can't be there every day for months, guys. You got to take action. Liberty's gone. America's gone. Your children are living in a land of tyranny. People are suffering. They're abused. They're in jail all over this nation from all races and all religions and all beliefs. Friends, we are one people. We need to love our neighbor as ourselves. We need to get out of our chair, put aside the football a little bit, put aside the beer and the Cheetos and the entertainment. We need to step up. We need to be men and women of principle. We need to start owning the narrative. Look, you don't have to be perfect. Don't be afraid to turn that camera around and say, hey, this is what I just saw, guys. I'm really disturbed by what I just saw. Here's what just happened. Quick tips, keep it short, keep it sweet, open, middle, close. 3 to 5 minute videos when you leave the courthouse, when you're down on the ground rallying, when you're in North Dakota rallying, all this media going out. Friends, you can have that narrative. We have to just start taking the narrative. The reason I make videos that reach a lot of people is because I don't sit around and just do nothing. I start talking. I explain what's happening. I explain the narrative, and we stand boldly in that. Standing bold, being firm, not waffling back and forth and being tossed to and fro like a wave of the sea, not making the emphasis faction. This isn't about voting for more Republicans. This isn't about oh, it's Congress's fault and it's Obama's fault. Sure, we got evil tyrants running this country, absolutely. But the problem with America, folks, is not bad laws. It's an apathetic people without the courage to stand up and refuse to comply with bad laws that are no law at all. It's a people that refuses to submit to principle, that refuses to love their neighbor, that refuses to seek God, and that operates on a pretense of freedom by getting offended over whether someone waves the flag correctly, sings the national anthem, or says the pledge. It's not about nationalism. It's not about pomp and parade. It's about principle. It's about the stand for liberty. And it's about speaking up and being loud and making our voice heard. So let's do that as we come into these trials. Let's show these guys that there's people out there that care, that all of America isn't apathetic and asleep, and that there is hope for liberty. Take care, guys.